Hey, everybody, we are the Earlene and Steven show. And hi, Earlene.
Hey, you.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. A lot of stuff happening lately.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of city turbulence. At the height of the Christmas season, nobody wants to hear about a tax. Nationally, there's a lot of discussion about should we continue the tax breaks that we get, because those are about to expire. So, are we going to pay a crap ton of money next year in taxing?
Right.
So that's a project that burns everybody's mind, I think, right now. And that's not what you want to talk about at Christmas time, do you?
No, nobody wants to talk about that kind of stuff at Christmas. We have so many other things to talk about. Not that it's not important, because it's very important.
It is.
It affects so many people in our community and in our county, and, it just has to be done.
Yeah. Well, and so if you'd like to find out the updates on what happened with City Hall, we recommend you get a newspaper this week, because we've covered it live. We've got a little bit more we'll talk about today. But before we get started, I'd like to talk about our sponsors.
Okay.
Raise Ford this week for sponsoring this week's episode. If you're down there shopping for a new vehicle this season, going to put a ribbon on it and a bow and give it to your significant other, or, you just need to upgrade the family car, I honestly think December is the best time to buy a new vehicle, because of the tax breaks. They're willing to negotiate. They got to get rid of the year end. But talk to Keith at Raise Ford if you're looking to get a new vehicle this year. I love their lineup between Jeep, Dodge, Ford. All of those are great. Also want to talk about Joe Redmond for sponsoring this week's episode. 270-668-2858. If you're looking for the handyman of all handymen, Joe Redmond's business helps with all your handyman services. They do decking and landscaping needs. They can also do some house remodeling for you, so cabinets, stuff like that. Anytime you're looking for those types of upgrades, please feel free to go give Joe a call at 270-668-2658. And then Terry Woobry with Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill for sponsoring this week's episode. Call 270-422-3981 for catering information. They have a great menu that you can enjoy from every night. They're not subject to the 2% increase in food tax.
I don't think so.
For a restaurant, because they're in the Doe Valley community. And that gate is open so that you can enter from the dam side of from that dam side of Doe Valley, that the dam where the actual dam, the water,
Yeah, it's right up from the marina, Steven.
At the tennis and swim club. Pollux Appliance, our newest sponsor, for sponsoring this week's episode. Call 270-668-8292 where they service what they sell. You can reach them at their website, www.polluxappliance.com, and they've got some of the newest models out that you would see at some of your box stores, and you can check them out. They also do appliance repair and all kinds of stuff. So don't think that old appliance is headed for the hills. Give them a call first before you need to throw it out and take a look at what they got. But I wanted to get right into the city because it happened last night. I will commend them and the vote to table the discussion. While there were many people in the community that were there, obviously it made television. I'm sure they talked about it probably on our local radio station. But, from a newspaper perspective, I think the concerns I have is the transparency. Not that they're doing a tax, but the transparency. Okay, why?
Be more specific about what you're going to use.
Why do you need 2%? You know what I mean? What are the? There's like a lot of questions I would have. Like, okay, can we determine the sales from food industry? From because the state tax office, they pay their taxes, right? So they know how much sales they had, and then if you take that from the state of Kentucky, where they pay their sales tax, what would 2% be of that annual average figure? So I would have probably taken the last 3 years of restaurant sales for all of the businesses that I have on my list at the city that are registered with the city. And then I would have ran that through the county or the state office and said, how much sales did these people report for the earning years of, 2023, 22, 21, right? And of course, we know COVID, they all dipped. Now they're all rising back up. We all like we run into each other all the time at Miguel's and stuff. So, but I would think that you would have that number And then you would determine, okay, well, how much do we need to add to the budget? And then you adjust your percentage from there, right? Does that percentage sales tax bring in the revenue that you need based off of the economic improvements you want to make in infrastructure, right? Because it sounds like they want to spend it on infrastructure. That's whether it's on law enforcement, whether they're going to give themselves another raise, that would awfully not look
That
well.
would not be a good idea.
That would not be a good idea. But, if it's infrastructure, like we're extending a sewer line or we're improving a water line that needs to be repaired.
Doing some work down on the riverfront, anything like that.
Yeah.
And just say, we need the money to do this, and be real specific about it. This is what we're going to do. This is going to benefit the city. This is how it's going to benefit the city. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's some type of unseen improvement, like you were talking about the sewer lines, or if it's something that we can all see and enjoy, like downtown, along the river, or even if it's to, add another police officer. This is how much it's going to cost to do this. And if they were real clear, to simplify it, it's kind of like doing a household budget.
Yeah.
If we want to buy something, like let's say Eddie and I decide, we want to buy new furniture for the house. We're going to determine how much that costs. Then we're going to determine where can we get it from, what should we save, what should we not spend money on, and then, formulate a plan.
Yeah.
The city needs to do a similar action for us.
I think so.
Right, so that we can say, okay, and then we understand. Most people will understand that if it benefits the whole. Some of the stuff that people are saying.
Especially for businesses that do businesses.
Exactly.
I don't have a voting, lane, neither do you, because we live at a Brandenburg address, but we don't live in city proper, and we don't participate in that infrastructure other than doing business, right?
Exactly.
So I as a business, I think you're right? We could get behind that if we knew it was going to help grow or sustain our business. Right.
Right.
So.
Exactly. And so, in the part that they were discussing about tourism, well, that makes sense. The more people you can bring to Meade County to come to see something, do something, or be a part of something, the more it's going to benefit the restaurants, the hotels, the people who have bed and breakfasts, all that kind of stuff. So I would really love to see more happening with that. I mean, just the recent example is the Battletown Witch Festival that they did. It brought in 10,000 people that came to enjoy it. And so anything that we can do along those lines to promote reasons for people to drive down from Louisville or drive over from Indiana or whatever to come here. Our Meade County Fair is a huge draw. People come from all over the state and out of state to come for that for a whole week. We're inundated with people coming to visit, to spend their money, to stay, bring their RVs or whatever. So anything that we can do along those lines, I think is a win-win for the city and the county.
And for small businesses.
Exactly.
But to that point, I do agree that you can't just grow and not have the infrastructure in place. And I think that in a lot of ways, we do get folks that are voted in or elected. And a lot of times it's easier to neglect the bigger bill, right?
Yeah.
And it gets kicked the can down the road. It's almost like the animal shelter, right? It's been there for 20, 30 years almost, and the population has outgrown its use.
Right.
And there's a lot of consternation about that. But the road department too, they're trying to grow. That's a county problem, not a city, but the county seat is Brandenburg.
Right.
So whatever the city does, there's got to be some impact at the county level. So I definitely think magisterial representation was present throughout a lot of these discussions, and I'm sure the judge executive probably is involved in conversations with the mayor at the same time.
Well, anything that happens in the city or anything that happens in the county, they're hand in glove.
Yeah.
I mean, Meade County's not that big.
Yeah.
And like you said, Brandenburg is the
county seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everything that I think that everything that happens, it's just going to affect all of us. Yeah.
Well, and if you'd like to read the ordinances, they are both available on themessengerky.com. If you go look up the story.
Like right now.
Yeah, it's right now. They're as read, they are up and available for you to read and interpret. I think it would just, if we could get our hands on it, we would add to it, which is what what is the plan, right?
Right.
If we could break down the numbers and had those numbers, I would definitely give it. But we haven't seen that from the city. And I think that that's the one thing that would be helpful in helping communicate. What is this big fix we need to make, and why do we need to make it? I think everybody could probably get on board with better law enforcement. No, that's the wrong way. More law enforcement, not better. I think Chief Hag does a great job.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to more traffic enforcement, slowing down the people. And this is a topic you wanted to talk about.
I do want to talk about that.
We had a. Go ahead. There was a complaint about the buses.
Oh, not just one complaint, multiple complaints. So the other day, the Brandenburg police chief, Brian Hagg, he came in and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he had this handful of letters, and I could see, just right away that they were kind of crumpled up and wrinkled and things. And, he was holding them like the treasure that they are. And we were like, "What's up?" So he said that they've received multiple calls, and that was his word, multiple calls in the past a couple of months, that people are not stopping. When the bus stops and they put out their little stop sign and their lights are going, and you're supposed to stop and let the children get off and go into their homes, or they're loading. Either way.
Yeah, this is not a yellow light situation where you try to run the light either.
No. But he said that lately a lot of people are just ignoring that. They're just disregarding those flashing lights, and they're just zooming right on. So bus drivers have called, parents have called, administrators have called, because there's been a lot of near misses. There's been a lot of, heart-stopping moments where a kid has been doing what the child is supposed to do, but the vehicle on the opposite lane is not. So anyway, he came in and he said that based on those phone calls and those concerns, that he decided to step up patrol during the morning traffic time and during the afternoon traffic time, which is around 3 o'clock, I guess, 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Get them.
Yeah.
Get them.
Yeah. And so he said, while they're in the city limits on my watch, I'm going to drive around and, watch for this. And so without meaning to, he was actually inadvertently following the same bus each day. But he was in his car, his patrol car.
That bus driver's probably like, "What did I do?"
Yeah. So the bus driver noticed that he was doing this. So finally she pulled over into a parking lot, and he pulled over behind her. And he got out, and she waited, and he approached her. And she said, "Have I done something wrong?" And he was like, "Oh, no." So he explained, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I'm one of the ones that called." And so he explained, I'm just driving behind you. I didn't mean to follow you or to alarm you. I was just wanting to make sure, I was just keeping an eye on the traffic. And so she was very touched by that. So the children were all listening because, kids love, they love to be pulled over. Oh boy.
You got pulled over.
Oh, yeah. And they, one time I got pulled over and they were like, "Mr. Earlene was going 100 miles an hour." I was not. So anyway.
We had a situation like that this summer, didn't we? Might be my significant other trying to get. Yeah, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been like, if I was Chief, I got to say, "Yes, you're doing amazing. And that left-hand turn you just made was textbook, girl."
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Let's be grateful that Chief Hagg is not like you. So anyway, he explained to her what happened.
Oh, he's a jokester. Listen, especially.
Stop.
But okay.
Let me finish. And then he explained to her what was going on. So she told her, the children understood. So she told them they all wrote letters to him. Some of the little ones, like they drew pictures and they wrote things like, "Thank you for keeping us safe." And he came in. He said, "I think this is the kind of feel-good thing that you're always talking about that you're looking for."
Yeah.
And absolutely, it is. So I followed it up. I called Glenn Wilson. He's the head of transportation for the district, and I asked him. I said, "What what do you think is going on about this?" And he's like, "Oh, we have a great working relationship with both city and county. Sheriff Wimpy as well as Chief Hagg are always very, very cooperative and helpful to us." And he said, "Really, our only concern for everybody is to keep the kids safe. That's our big concern."
I don't think there's anybody in our law enforcement for the county, city, county, that would want to take that call.
Right.
If one of these individuals flew past a bus and hit a child, that would be devastating.
And nobody's in that big of a hurry.
No.
Nobody's. You shouldn't be on your phone. You shouldn't be texting. You shouldn't be considering anything else going on. As soon as you see that huge, ginormous yellow bus, you should slow down, pay close attention, because you just never know what's going to happen. And so you're right.
I want a dash cam for my car. I can't tell you the number of people I see driving like this.
Oh yeah.
And
all
they're
the
not
time.
even looking. They're not even looking.
Or they do this. They do this. They hold their phone up and they're
Yeah.
like they're driving and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I will say that in the Bronco, it has a big touch screen, and you don't even have to really touch it, because if you want to make a phone call, you're driving, you just hit the little button and you say, call Earlene Bohannon, and then it'll call Earlene Bohannon, and I never even had to touch a thing.
See?
Or if somebody texts me, it gives me a little
You can
notification.
do a voice text.
And I say, answer.
Yeah, I can do that too.
And it'll chat it out to me and tell me what they had to say, and it'll say, do you want to respond? And I'll say, nope. Okay.
Yep,
And
me
it's
too.
good.
Me too. Or if it says, "Do you want to respond?" I'll say blah 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 blah, and then it'll say what you want to say is blah,
yeah.
and it'll send it.
Well, I stopped responding because it doesn't understand me very well, and it sends all kinds of crazy stuff at the end. Is this what you want to send? No. Would you like to change it? Yes.
Yes, me
and
too.
I'm like, no.
Eddie
And
makes fun of me because I argue with that. I argue with Alexa too. I argue with her. I'm like, no, that is not what I said.
Yeah, I know it. You don't want to know. Well, certain people, their names do not come out the same way as they're supposed to sound either. But interesting for facts too is a lot of the organizations, and we've covered this, that are supporting our children in the community. And Christmas time, Thanksgiving, we obviously witness, it's not easy for folks, especially with the inflation rate it is. I mean, I'm even feeling it in my pocketbook for inflation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just going to the grocery store and finding those needs, but especially when there's I need clothes, I need socks. Angel Ministries has done Meade County Angel Ministry has done a great job. Sheila over there, I think we covered the last 2 weeks with that. And then the Shop with the Cop with the city and the county. Obviously, our partners over in Radcliffe as well took that for the regional communities and took that on. I just think it's that time of season where but it doesn't need to last in one part of the year. It keeps going. And we were just talking about this before the show.
That what we're saying is we're inundated with just tons and tons of give for this, give for that. They're collecting food, they're collecting toys, they're collecting clothes, all kinds of stuff, and it's all great, it's all wonderful. But what's going to happen in January and February? What's going to happen then? What about when somebody really needs help in June? And there's not a common thread. It's harder for someone to ask for help in May or June or July, and people need help then as well.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels overwhelming, the amount of help that we're able to offer during these 3 or 4 weeks out of each year, and then it just kind of fizzles up.
Yeah.
And so we need to keep those coffers full the entire time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, 3 months ago, our little food banks were desperate. They were desperate. Now they've got it coming out of their ears for right now, and they're just packing baskets and they're making sure everybody gets it. But what we need to do, we have a responsibility as a community to make sure that we have those shelves stocked every month out of the year.
Well, I can tell you that after we did Thanksgiving, I was just there visiting Mary the other day, and I personally took a bag of food to somebody that had reached out to our friends at Fort Knox, and this elder lady, she didn't have a lot. I was able to go to Journey, but Journey, their shelves are empty too.
Yeah.
And they're back to trying to make ends fill because the need is so in demand. And they're not the only food shelter in Meade County, but they're all just struggling. So you don't think just because it's the holidays, people need to eat every day. So I was just thinking about this the other day too. Our church went to a ministry service over in Africa. They helped put in a well. I think we try to support to this every year. It's like $45,000 to put in a well in Africa where it draws water. And the people that would walk, they would walk miles just to have water. They do this every day to fill up their jugs so that they could drink water.
Right.
And the reason I was thinking about this again is because, I love my Diet Mountain Dew. I do. I love it. Not a plug for them. Probably won't be there anymore. I think they're trying to get rid of red dye in America finally.
Yeah.
It's cancer causing.
Is there red dye in Diet Mountain Dew?
I don't know, but I'm sure they'll find something. Yeah, but they'll find something. But anyway, so my thought is there's people that are just starving for water. We had Brett Piles on not too long ago.
Yeah.
And then here I am just enjoying my, Diet Mountain Dew. And sometimes we forget as a first world nation that our third world countries don't have it as good as we do. We are a consumption user. Anyway, I want to go into our sponsors real fast one more time before we get to the middle segment of our show. If you would just indulge us, please. We got Ray's Ford. Ray's Ford, if you're looking for that new car deal and that sweet car smell, well, go see Keith at Ray's Ford, where your options are Jeep, Ford, Dodge. I think they've got the Ram over there. It's not really called a Dodge Ram, but it's the Ram. And then, of course, the Broncos and the Ford models. And it's a great dealership. But what I love most about Ray's Ford is their service. They can come and pick up your vehicle and take it back over. Our other sponsor, Joe Redmond, for sponsoring this week's episode. If you're looking for handyman work, decking, or any type of home repairs or landscaping, you can call Joe Redmond at 270-668-2858 for all your landscaping needs. And then he does a lot of interior work too. So if you're looking to hang cabinets or do some home improvements, a new bathroom, he's able to do those small projects. I also want to send a shout out to Terry Woobry. I always say it wrong. It's Hoobry.
It's Hoobry, like who?
Who? Well, I know who. You're going to go to the Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill, and you're going to eat up Terry Hoobry's food because they'd work their buns off to provide a great menu. And you can also call them for catering at 270-422-3981. And if you're looking for a different scene or venue, I recommend go to the Swim and Tennis Club there at the Bar and Grill.
Well, it's not called the Swim and Tennis Club anymore. It's called the Lakeside Grill.
Our last sponsor is Pollock's Appliance at 270-668-8292, where they service what they sell. And you can also go to their website at www.pollocksappliance.com. Pollocksappliance.com. They are this week's sponsor, and they're going to be running with us for the next couple of weeks. And, they also do appliance repair and maintenance, and they can keep that old appliance still going for you, and you don't have to get rid of it. It's interesting. Appliances sometimes are just a part. You plug and play, and it's back up and working again. But, coming back into this segment, thanks for joining us. If you're just now tuning in, Earlene, I think we've got some great products coming in this week's paper, and there's some community events coming up. You want to lead us in?
There's so much to do. There's just so much community events. I was looking through here a while ago. So we have a community calendar that comes out every Thursday, and it goes through the next Wednesday. So you don't have to look through there and go, oh, in 3 weeks this is happening. We do it each week. So if you just pick up the newspaper every Wednesday or Thursday, it's right there. It's on the second or third page. So as soon as you open it up, it's there. You can cut it out, stick it on your fridge, and that way you have stuff to do. Well, right now there's so many things to do that cost absolutely nothing or very little to do, and it just, especially if you got small kids at home, school's going to be out pretty soon. There's just lots of things to do. There's a couple of deadlines I'd like to bring up. One is the Golden Angels Ministry. We wrote a story about this a couple of weeks ago, and they only accept financial donations because they're going to buy Kroger cards to give out because they can use it for a multitude of things. But their deadline is this Thursday. If you want to donate to that or bless that community with something like that, you can do that. You could call over to Brandenburg United Methodist Church. Linda D. Ames is the lady who's spearheading that ministry up, and I know she goes to church there. So they could certainly hook you up there. Another thing, I don't know if you know this. Did you know that the Christmas movie It's a Wonderful Life used to have another name?
No.
And sometimes it's listed by its original name.
Hold on, I'm going to Google this, but lead us down this road. I'd like to know this.
Okay, well, every year there's a special showing at different theaters, and right now, this weekend, for 3 days in a row, it's going to be over in Corden.
Oh,
at their little.
Gotcha.
You got it? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be over at their little. They've kind of, like they've got an old theater there, just like the State Theater over in Elizabethtown is an old theater, and they show Christmas movies every Friday and Saturday, and sometimes on Sundays during December. What do you think the name of it used to be?
the greatest gift?
No, it was not called The Greatest Gift.
It was.
No, it was
Philip
Christmas.
Van
No.
Dorn Stern. He wrote it in 1939.
Well, he may have written that, but I'm talking about the movie. When they first made the movie, it was called Christmas in Bedford. And so, Bedford Falls,
Yeah,
Christmas
okay.
in Bedford Falls. If you Google that, if you say, is It's a Wonderful Life and Christmas in Bedford Falls, is it the same thing? It will say, absolutely, it is the same thing. So I don't know if Jimmy Stewart had something to do with that or, what, but I just thought that was a little fun trivia to toss out there. One of the things I wanted to say is this Saturday, December 14th, there are 21 things.
In real New York's real Bedford Falls.
Right.
So the real Bedford Falls is, okay.
Yeah, you got it. Tracking with us on that. But anyway, there's 21 things on our to-do calendar. Everything from, there's pancakes with Santa at the library, and then there's pancakes with the Grinch down at Riverview Cafe. Both of them start at 10, so you could conceivably go to one at 10 o'clock and then show up at the other one at 11 if you wanted to see Santa and the Grinch on the same day. There's lots of stuff going on. There's women's Christmas brunches. There's one important thing. I'm going to start this, and then I bet you're going to jump in on this. Wreaths Across America at the Kentucky Veterans Cemetery in Radcliffe is this Saturday. They love to have help. They love to
So
have
too is
people-
the Fort Knox.
Yep, they love to have people show up and to help lay those wreaths on those graves.
And you got to get there early, otherwise you're going to be parking on the side of 31W to walk in there because there are so many people that come out to support
Right.
that effort.
Right, and there's just nothing more solemn and humbling than to do that, than to honor the people, who have passed, who've served our country, who have fought for our rights to sit here and say the things that we want to say and expect the things that we want to expect, and they've done that. We literally stand on the shoulders of these soldiers and these giants, and so. There's fundraisers for it to help provide that. There's opportunity to go and actually help lay a wreath yourself. There's just so many things to do. I mean, this cemetery is very sweet. It's not the same as Arlington National Cemetery, of course.
It's still a national cemetery, though.
Yes, absolutely, and it still has that same feel, when you go into it as the larger ones do. So, but anyway, that's this Saturday, and so in the middle of all the excitement and running to and fro and eating more candy than you should and shopping and spending and all of that, if you can just take a moment to think about that, either go there, participate, donate to it. If you do nothing but, just pray over those souls, that's good. Just take a minute to just reflect and to remember, why we do that.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that. I agree. I actually did funeral detail as a soldier. It is a tough job. And our greatest generation, our World War II veterans, there's not many left. But when you get the opportunity, first of all, somebody who our Vietnam veterans, anybody that served in combat that comes back. Especially from those wars,
they're different.
It's completely different war fighting then than today. No loss in military service is a good loss, but they do pay their ultimate sacrifice. But for those that have served, they have some amazing stories, and once they go, those stories go too, because the lineage. I think the military does a good job of keeping its history, and we should learn from our history. But there's nothing like hearing the on-the-ground stories from some of those who have served. So it is a somber remembrance. I do agree with you, though. And it's the problem that we face in America. I don't think we read enough. And I don't think we recognize how we got to where we are by the sacrifices that were made by so few just to have the freedoms that we have.
Exactly.
I think a lot of politicians get a bad rap, Democrats and Republicans. for many of the years of service. You know, you could go into the argument of, oh, they've been in there too long, or, you know, the Senate's the gentleman's club. I think I heard that one recently. You could say all of these things, but it is not easy to, well, one, it's not easy to run for an election. You take a lot of criticism. You have to be able to not wear your emotions on your sleeve, and you have to think of the greater good and stuff in most situations. I think I heard Pastor Ryan's podcast last week, and he was talking about those who learn and research to go on stage are those who are teach. Those who are not willing to learn but want to go on stage to preach are more in it for themselves than they are for the word or trying to teach. And I was like, wow, that resonates in so many caveats for people that have a platform or all those other things. And I commend you for the work you're doing right now for the paper.
Thank you.
And for the information we try to get out there to everybody. But there's a lot of good stuff going on in the community.
There's
if you don't like what's bad, the best thing I can tell you is we're not the paper. We're not the city hall police. If you don't like what they're doing, show up just like you did last night. There was a lot of the community that showed up
I think
to view their concerns.
I think that the concerns of the community and the fact that everybody pulled together so much, I really do think that made such a difference. You know, too often people will complain about a situation.
Yeah.
You know, they'll just and complain and gripe and fuss and have resentment.
If anything, I think we've done a good job at getting people involved in the process than being the complaint department.
You know, so many people, and I strive a lot to make sure that I don't want to be anybody's sounding board on purpose. You know, like we get phone calls all the time. We get phone calls from people who will say, I don't like the way they left my trash can. I want you to write a story about the trash company. Or they'll call about the bank. You know, they're upset because something happened at the bank that they didn't like. Or they'll call about the water department or whatever. You know, they overcharged me. You need to go investigate this. And lots of times I say, nope, not going to do that. First of all, we're not investigative reporters. Secondly, you know, the reality.
Well, we do have a journalism responsibility, but we just don't have the time in a lot of cases.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that. The reality is this. We are a weekly printed newspaper. We do have website. We do have a Facebook. We can get on. We can go live. We can report information as it's happening, and we have and done it. But because of the reality of what we are and what our platform is, the platform that I'm the editor of, I'm not going to put any breaking news in print. The breaking news will come out either a live feed, or on Facebook or on our website. That's when that stuff is going to happen. So when we are printing, I want to make sure that what we print is something that people can pick up and they go back to it over and over and look at look at the basketball pictures, look at the football pictures. Oh, look, my little niece Susie won this award. Or look at this sweet story about this 85-year-old remembering how Christmases were when he was 20. You know, those are the kind of things that the public deserves for us to put out to them.
Sure. And we do publish the news. We get press releases all the time from local law enforcement and all that other stuff. But I think the difference is that, we may not like everything that we read or see, but we're definitely still publishing it. But we're doing it without an opinion.
We do not sensationalize anything that comes. And that's a big, and we've heard great feedback on that. People
I gave you my opinion today on this show. I would like to see some more transparency.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a business plan.
And I agree with you.
Do we need a tax? Probably. Is 2% right? I don't know. Because we haven't been presented that information.
Right.
We can't
make that determination until we know what we're paying for.
That's right.
So the very first thing that needs to happen here is exactly what do we need to pay for. Present that right down to the penny. Then we can determine how much tax we have to have. You can't decide, we're going to get this in taxes, and then we're going to spend it.
You know, I do think, though, I'm very proud of them to table it.
Yeah.
To allow the newly elected positions to be a part of the vote and the process. I think that was a brilliant move on their part. It does kick the can as far as carrying on the conversation, but I think it gives them, it also gave the people an opportunity, because we have been seeing a larger presence at these meetings and more public involvement, which is what we should do as a public. Oftentimes the community has left it up to certain individuals else to do this. But now it's glad to see the people, the voters, get involved, and the businesses that are impacted by it. And I think that resonates better for their decision-making process than hearing from a select few in the community that have an opinion.
Right.
To include the news, right? So I think it's good that they kicked it. I think it's indicative of the process that you vote for these people, and that the people that you voted for represent you, and it carries a little bit more water. Now, if those people you just voted for vote for it, there must be a reason. You may have to rethink your thought process if you don't like it. I don't know, but I think that was a good move by them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Final thoughts, Earlene, and then I'm gonna go into our sponsors.
Here we are. It's today's the 10th day of December. Christmas is 15 days away, and we are full into it. If you haven't mailed off your Christmas cards yet, you need to get it done. Yesterday was National Christmas Card Day. I don't know if people know that. I love Christmas cards. I love to get Christmas cards. I love to send them. So I'm hoping to receive lots of cards and to send cards. I've got to get them out in the next day or two. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the magic. Enjoy, where you turn off all the lights in your house and nothing's on but the tree, and you just sit and kind of look at that. I think that's fabulous. Go find the meaning for the holiday. There's gonna be a live nativity over at the River of Life Church in West Point this weekend for a couple of days. Just look it up. Go over there. They have all the animals. They're gonna have, a live reenactment of the manger scene.
I love it.
I do too.
I'm going to be at a event Saturday. It's a roller skating party for all of the foster children. It's the annual Christmas party for the foster parents.
Can you roller skate?
I can skate like nobody's business.
I bet you can.
I bet I can. But I'm taking part in that. Hopefully, get you a story out of it, because there's not enough foster parents out there, and they need love too.
Yeah.
Earlene, I think it's a great paper. You guys need to check it out this Thursday. It comes out. Come check us out.
Oh, wait, before we leave, do you know what a great Christmas present would be?
What?
If somebody gifted someone with a subscription to the Messenger.
Shut the front door.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you called up and said, and it's less than $1 an issue if you buy it by the year. If you're struggling thinking, what should I buy my neighbor? What should I buy, so-and-so? Get them a copy of the Messenger. I've actually gifted a couple out of state. People who have Meade County roots. I've bought them a Messenger subscription and said, here you go. And you know what? 10 out of 10, they loved it.
The old ad that was on the side of the building said a weekly newspaper that is a letter.
A letter
from home.
Like a letter from home. That's exactly right.
And that's what we're providing.
Yep.
A letter from home
for
those who are away from Meade County.
Yep.
Get out there and subscribe. You can actually subscribe online at themessengerky.com.
On the phone. You can call Jaden.
You can call Jaden and subscribe. And online, you can also submit stories online if you have an account.
You sure can.
You can submit your stories in the forums, and we would take a look at them, and if we like it, we'll publish it. If we don't, we won't. But you can submit it. Editorials are also available there as well. So just want to say thanks to all of our sponsors again. Ray's Ford for sponsoring this week's episode. Again, if you're out looking for a new car, the Ray's has got the place for you to go, especially if you like the new Ford Broncos. Proud owner myself.
Nobody would have guessed that.
A great experience coming from the Jeep community. I'd say it's much more comfortable.
Do you have
on my
the
back.
ducks? Are you going to put the ducks?
No, I do not do the ducks. Nope, but I do re-gift the ducks.
Oh, okay.
So I do pass it along. I'm a Jeep owner too, but they've got Jeeps and Ford trucks and Dodge and everything else. Joe Redmond, thanks for sponsoring this week's episode. You can call Joe at 270-668-2858 for all your landscaping needs. Whether you want to put in a new deck, you want to help level a pool, or you want to get your house ready for some home improvements, Joe is your handyman and can service any of your small home needs for any type of home improvement. So call Joe Redmond, 270-668-2858. Our other sponsor, Terry Hubry with Doe Valley Lakeside Bar and Grill, for sponsoring this week's episode. You can call their services for catering needs. They will deliver as well. You don't have to go there to pick it up, but 270-422-3981 for all your catering information. They also have a great dinner menu. You can come out and breakfast.
Yeah.
You can.
No.
Well, like they have the specials, like they did the one breakfast.
Yeah.
So you just got to get out there. The gate is open there at Doe Valley, so you can go see them and have dinner one night. Our newest sponsor, Pollock's Appliance, for sponsoring this week's episode. You can call Pollock's Appliance at 270-668-8292, where they service what they sell. That's right. And not only what they sell, but you can also call them for appliance repairs around the house. If you got that clanking dryer and you just need a tune-up, give them a call. They'll tear it down and make it new again. www.pollocksappliance.com for all your appliance needs. And you don't have to drive very far. It's right here in Brandenburg. And you can, they do delivery. So you don't have to drive to some other big town to get an appliance. We have an appliance store right here in Brandenburg. So, hey, Earlene, great show. Thanks for all the work this week. We're looking forward to the paper. Can't wait to get my hands. Well, I already kind of see it, but you know what I mean. When it comes off the press.
I still like to read it.
I like to
even
get
though
it
I
from the
put it all
press.
together, when I get it, I like to go through it and look at it.
Absolutely. Have a great night, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.